All right.
All right, here we are.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Good. How are you doing?
Good, brother. Get rid of there we go.
Are you in your garage?
No, this is the my home office.
Nice.
Yeah, there's all some stuff. I got the all the accoutrement up there, all that stuff.
Is that a Spider-Man poster behind you?
Which one? There's the Superman,
Superman. All right, so it's a
and
little
then
blurry. I think, yeah, on the right, I couldn't tell if it was Spider-Man or not.
ah,
I've I've got Thor, Spider-Man, and Batman in my dorm room. So
yeah, man. I've been a nerd my whole life, so why stop now?
yeah, well, me too. It's a good crossover.
Yeah.
For, so I guess I know I already asked you this, but I guess I'll ask a more in-depth version. How you doing right now? Today, tonight?
I'm doing all right, man. Can't rarely can I really complain,
That's good. So I know you last competed at America's Strongest Man, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what have you been up to since then?
Um, I mean, since then, really, that's I shifted gears to running shows. I opened the Strengthlete Collective online programming site, and then December I called up Jackson Reeves, Iron Resurgence, and was like, "Hey, man, I want to throw a show for my friends. I can guarantee 10,000." And he's like, "Okay." And then 3 months later, it was being filmed for ESPN. So
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. I remember reading the release, I think either on Barbell or Starting Strength, probably both. That was impressive. And I think record breakers are on this weekend, right?
yep, Friday they're on.
Friday. Okay.
Yeah.
So what got you into strongman?
Honestly, it was the first, maybe it was the second. It was one of my knee surgeries. It was 2013. I was out in Fort Carson, and I couldn't run or do much with it, so I started lifting again. Picked that up as a hobby again, and I got pretty strong pretty quick. And it was just kind of like, okay, maybe I should mess around with this, give it a shot. And then my buddy had me pick up a stone, and I grew up as a kid watching Magnus for Magnuson and Pujanowski um, lift the stones, pull the trains. Everyone sees that shit. And then I did it, and I fell in love with it. That's all it took, one Atlas stone.
That's I kind of know how you feel. I remember watching Half Thor's 2014 Europe's Strongest Man Stone run. That's what did it for me. Just ripping off his shirt at the end.
Very,
But
very powerful
so,
Atlas
so,
stones.
so since 2013, then how long did it take you to get your pro card?
Let's see. Well, so I got into training in 2013. I didn't compete till 2015. Yeah, and then I turned pro in 2017. So 2 years.
And and then the next 2 years, you were world's strongest man.
That first year in 2017, I came in third to Nick Canby and Andrew Clayton.
Right.
Then since then, yeah.
And then I first heard about you on the Titan games way back then. And fun fact, I think I actually mentioned this on my personal story. I really didn't know weight class strongman existed till I saw your profile that they did for you on there. And do you think that this is something that we can talk about Strengthly later, but something like Clash on the Coast, someone my size, I think I'm about the same height as you, but I'm not going to fill out to be a Brian Shaw size, but
Right.
there's an avenue for people sort of our size that can compete. And when I'm watching Half Thor Stone run, okay, I can't do that, but maybe I can aspire to be more like Nick Canby or like you. Do you think Clash just sort of opens those doors to not just the current athletes, but potential people?
I think so. I think like any smaller sport, niche sport, a lot people don't know. Not there's a lot of people that don't even know that strongman exists. Period. Let alone the weight class. So I think having the opportunity and getting these guys the opportunity to be on television, to be have it broadcast, and to get the name of the athletes and the sport out there, I think that's going to lead to people like yourselves who, they came across it, or they went out to lunch that morning or that afternoon at a restaurant, and saw it on TV, right? And they're like, hey, what's that? So they start looking into it. We pull better athletes in. It's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, and I think you're also making good strides on the female side as well, right? Because you have an 82 kilo class coming
Yep.
up next year.
We're kind of testing that out this first year. I'm treating it almost as its own competition in the show. So it is part of Clash, but I want them to be special. So they're going to have their own day.
Yeah, and I saw for OSG, they just put in a 73 kilo weight class because I mean, the previous jump was ridiculous from 64 to 82.
Yeah,
You had a,
it was not a small jump.
yeah, it'd be like you versus Tommy Lavelle, which side is gonna
Yeah.
weigh out the same way. So what was your experience in strongman before? Because I think OSG the first year was 2017, right?
Hmm?
So what was the experience like for, I guess, weight class and female strongman? Because I guess we can kind of lump those together in terms of they're not as popular as the super heavyweights right now.
Yeah.
What
So
was that come up like for you?
for me, when I was 2016, 2017, before OSG, I mean, really, all you had is you had the Arnold amateur, but become a pro and then compete America's Strongest Man. That was the only thing you had, which was fine. I mean, my first America's Strongest Man in 2017 had a hell of a field. It was very competitive and fun. Um, it was a great time. And as I came up, the women's side of the sport kind of started getting brought up too in 2015, 2016. So they kind of have grown with us. Although they've actually, there's a lot of back and forth about if it's level playing field yet and all that stuff. But I got to tell you, up until this year, the women had like 3 times the pro shows that the 105 men had. So I mean, they've done a great job. They've had the Arnold women. They have the strongest woman in the world, America's Strongest Woman. And this is the first year that the 105s have had anything besides America's Strongest Man and OSG.
Yeah, I remember Kristen Rhodes talked about how she started her strongwoman career, I think around the same time as Terry Hollins, right? Back in '05, '06.
He is a trailblazer. I mean, she has been through the thick and thin of everything.
So, speaking of trailblazing, where did you get the idea for Strengthlete?
Um, my partner, TJ Stodiker, he's my business partner. He was retiring out of the Army when I was stationed at Fort Knox when I got here, and I started talking to him. He asked me to train him. And I was like, "Hey man, you'll die if I train you." And I gave him a little program to have him complete first. And he completed it, and he loved it, and he fell in love with it. He's just some guy. He wasn't an athlete. He's just about to retire from the Army, old guy. And he got in shape, and he loved it. And we were talking, just about coaching and how we feel like a lot of time coaches price people out. Because, I don't blame people. If people will pay it, you charge it. But it's a lot of money, $150 a month for a lot of these coaches, right? So I was like, what if we offer a system where they could get, obviously it's not personalized coaching, but they can get a great program for a very low price. And when they're ready, they can graduate, essentially. And then I was like, what if we did it for one price? And it was a bunch of different stuff. So I started reaching out to people that I knew, some people I didn't know. And we just kind of built this site and this infrastructure in about a month and a half, and decided to change how things were done.
I mean, it really is a revolutionary concept if you look at it. I mean, I know just looking at take Lawrence Shaw, for example, I know he has different programs on his site, but you wouldn't combine his squat program or log program with Nick Best's yoke program, even though, they're both insanely good at their various aspects, but no one has thought to combine the idea of it before, or John Hack in powerlifting, or Casey Romero.
Yeah,
You know,
that to me was the most unique part. Is they're not, a lot of them, like you said, they're not full programs. Like I have an overhead press program that could be placed with Casey's deadlift program. So you can get a world class deadlifter teaching you how to deadlift, and then you could say yes to the press. Same with Nick Canby and his program. You compare that with the deadlift. It's very unique and revolutionary. And I wanted to provide people a service, affordable service, and then I wanted to use that to give back and help the sport.
I remember for the past year or two, you were talking, well, I guess 2 or 3 years now, because you've had Strengthly for a year. You've been talking about how you want to push things forward for the sport in general, but mostly, particularly the middleweights. That's your bread and butter.
Hmm.
When did you have the idea to do like, I guess, when did it come to you how you were going to push it forward? I mean, I know you had the idea, you had the drive.
Yeah. It was, I mean, honestly, it really was a spur of the moment at Clash. It really was just kind of a spur of the moment thing where I was like, hey, I got some of this disposable income I've been saving. I was saving it. I don't know. I thought I was saving it for a Trans Am, but apparently it wasn't for a Trans Am. It was for a competition. And I said, hey, I want to do this. And I talked to some guys and they said they'd be interested in it. And then from there, I had the right people around me and we just took off with it. Like, I didn't know how I was going to change until it actually happened.
What gave you the idea for the record breakers factor of it? Was that a sort of a watching Giants live shows and how every one of theirs has to have a record in them,
No,
or
most of it was I saw how there was a show in January that had some records broken under poor conditions, and there was some problems with it. And Corey Butler was kind of robbed of a world record because they told her it was a record when it wasn't, so she stopped. So one, I felt bad, and two, so for the American Log Press, I sat back and I was like, why does this record never get contested in America anymore? It's the American Log Press. Why are they only sending one or two guys to England to do this? Screw that. We should give the most American athletes we can an opportunity. So that's what I did. We were supposed to have about 15 of them guys, but injuries and stuff happened. But I wanted heavyweights, just like the 105s. There's heavyweights that they get ignored. They get, for whatever reason, they don't get the credit they deserve, and I wanted them to come get credit too. And I thought a log press was just an easy way to do it. It was quicker. It wouldn't take a lot of time. It didn't take the focus away. So I was like, let's go. Let's everyone get at the table. We're all going to eat.
yeah, I think it's such a strange thing that Worlds really doesn't seem to recognize America's Strongest Man as a competition. I mean, Marcus Crowder didn't get an invite this year. I know Claiborne got one last year, but I don't think he was even an alternate this year. Uh,
It's I want to say it's politics. Some of it's politics. Unfortunately, politics play a part in the money making side of the sport, which is Giants Live and Worlds. Part of it is just there was what 2 years ago, 3 years ago, there was what three guys competing at America's Strongest Man. You can't expect anybody to give that competition credit or take it as serious. And there's only three people competing, so athletes got to step up too.
yeah, I think you are. I mean, I see this on your story all the time. You are pushing for these athletes to compete more and to get more notoriety. I mean, take Jose Baez, for example. When you ever watch World's Strongest Man, Julian Howard's channel,
Yes,
he used to always refer to Jose as the one man who beat Larry Wheels in a strongman competition.
he is, and he is.
And but then he also got third at America's Strongest Man. And so it's funny how sort of that YouTube and Instagram, I guess, clout lifting, whatever you want to call it, still takes precedent over some legitimate achievements. Like, how is Jose not introduced as the third strongest man in America as opposed to the one guy who beat Larry Wheels in 2019?
I think a lot of it, it lies. It's not the athlete's fault, but you got guys out there that they do a good job of marketing themselves. And you can't. I mean, they get hated. They get hated for it, but you can't hate people for their hustle. It's tough to hate. You can, but I think you should appreciate it and maybe learn. I love Jose to death, but he's got to get out there and sell himself. And it's a personality thing. You get a lot of guys in sport that are very humble, and that's a good thing. But I tell people it's good to be humble until it's time not to be. There's a time to be humble, and there's a time not to be humble. And if I can have a hand in helping some of them guys that are too humble to do it themselves get a spot, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think you also invited Stan Carradine out to the log press record. He's
Yes,
someone I think he competed at 2016 Worlds.
he did. I've known Stan actually for a while. He's one of the first pros I met in Colorado.
Yeah, and I knew of him a little bit before the log press, but you think of how fast people, if they don't have that marketability, just kind of fade a little bit.
Well, it's not, that combined with injuries too. A lot of times you get hurt, you're out a year or so, and people forget about you. I mean, hell, you know, I haven't competed since 2019. People forget I'm still a world champ, y'all. If I
Yeah, no,
if I choose to come back, I'm going to win.
Yeah, I keep seeing you go back and forth. You're like, ah, I'm not going to compete. Maybe I am. No. At this point, I think it's just a weight cut for you, right?
Yeah, I'm really just enjoying. I'm set about 267 right now, so it's I mean it's up there, and I just don't feel like dieting. I'm enjoying getting strong and just lifting for pleasure at this point. Um, Plus, to be perfectly honest, a lot of the events I can't do because of my knee now. So
Yeah, it's. I think for the Arnold, you were up to 255 or so when you were competing in Barcelona.
yeah, I was flirting with 260, about 255, like it was getting there. And then it just, yeah, the knee went, and it's just been up and down battle since. That's when it got really bad.
Yeah, so I know you care about the promotional side of furthering the sport, but how much of it does it matter to you personally? Like, I know when you were having the whole belt clean thing going on, you changed your name to Belt Clean, which I thought was funny. But at that point, you're almost detaching yourself from your name, and you're just making it, Belt Clean as opposed to Anthony Furman. How much of that marketability still matters to you? Like, I know are you still La Flama Blanca, really? I guess that's the
So,
question.
well, the Flama Blanca, he's the competitor. So if I compete again, Flama Blanca is going to come back. He's my alter ego. That's the best way to describe that.
Because I think people like Andrew Clayton, who you mentioned earlier, honestly, I didn't even know he was a middleweight until, researching and going back and watching all his stuff. Because I knew him as the guy who messed himself up at Giants Live North America. But it's impressive to see that kind of a crossover between athletes. And I know some people flirted with it. Like I mean, obviously, I just mentioned how you did Arnold Barcelona. But what do you think is holding back people like Camby, like who would have come second at Royal Albert Hall with his, you know, Axel? What's holding middleweights? I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. Why stay 231 when you can be 260 or 270?
Prior to now, the reason is, in all honesty, it takes a toll on the body doing the open heavyweights at our size. It is. It's a tax a lot of people can't pay. You know what I mean? It happened to me. I mean, those weights were crushing. It's happened to Sean DeMarinis. Rob Kearney has successfully done it. Clayton was a heavyweight before he was a middleweight, so he turned heavyweight pro, came back down, and went back up. So I wouldn't consider him a true middleweight. Um, and it's tough. That's the main reason. And now they don't have to do it because I'm getting these boys paid, and we're going to get on TV just like them. So now there's no reason to. Now they can be their natural weight and not have to work and still get something out of it.
Would you ever consider opening up? And I think Strongman Corporation has like a 275 class, right? Would you ever consider having another class? Because I mean, Clash is your own thing. It's not affiliated with OSG, Strongman Corporation, Giants. Not, it's just you,
Yep.
right? So I guess you can really set the rules. Like whether or not you want to allow belt cleans. But I'm
Oh
just
wait,
messing with you.
I was firing them.
Yeah, and I saw all that. But would you consider opening up a weight class so someone like Camby or doesn't have to squeeze himself into 231?
Uh, Maybe. I mean, I would get rid of that 231 class then. It would be a catch weight. Just because the reason Clash works is because it's not OSG. You can't watch OSG because it's 200 people in 92 classes. It's a powerlifting meet. So that's why you can't watch it. That's why, you know what I mean? It gets tough. And Clash is going to focus on two. That's it. Max I'll do. With record breaker sprinkled because it's quick. But I have no plans on opening up a ton of different weight classes right now. I mean, if we grow enough fiscally and it makes sense, I might do another show maybe. But as of right now, I mean, Clash is what it is, and it works because of that.
So you would just stick with the formula of men and female middleweights?
Yep. Right now, that's the kind of the path to the future is what I see right now. And from there, I mean, I didn't think it was going to grow into regionals, and it did. You know what I mean? So who knows what it'll grow into. And another thing, I open up like the American Deadlift Championships. People can come qualify. And quite honestly, I don't have a lot of signups. So if people aren't going to seize opportunities, why would I create some?
Yeah, I don't know why the American deadlift isn't more contested. I know one guy who I think he tore his hamstring recently, but I think he's a mid 900s puller, and he wanted to qualify, but he just tore something. But you think just because Jerry Pritchett set the bar so high that
Well, I'm speaking. I mean, I have more heavyweights signed up than anything.
for the deadlift?
Hmm. It's
Oh,
the weight classes and the women that aren't signing up, and it's okay.
oh, okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
you do have to travel still to the region. I get it, um, but it's tough. So as a fan of the sport, I want to keep providing this stuff, but I can't just keep coming out of pocket. I have nothing to sell. If I don't have athletes competing at the championships to sell it as a package, I can't get them paid, and I can't keep coming out of pocket. So it's tough, and I'm still trying to work the kinks of that out.
So how do you fund it out of pocket? Do you have a job outside of Strengthlete?
Yeah, I'm active duty Army.
How long are you planning on staying in for?
I'm actually trying to. I'm in a medical board right now. They're evaluating for my knee, so I might get out actually.
No, okay.
Which
And you were at Fort Knox, right?
I'm still here.
With I think Gabby Bergholzer was there too.
Justin Boy.
Justin Lloyd. Okay. So one of my friends he's actually in this club. He's in ROTC, and he came down and saw you guys there. Was very impressed with the Army Warrior Fitness team. So, what compels you to keep going with the sport and with yourself? And I mean, I know you say you're just training for fun, but do you have an end goal with training for fun?
Uh, I would like to pull 900 before I'm done, before I call it quits. I would like to hit a 400 log before I call it quits. Just, those are some goals I was edging towards as I was doing the Arnold's, the heavyweights. I was getting right there at the cusp of all those, and then I got hurt. So if I could come back and hit those, I'd be pretty happy. I mean, I've already done all there is to do in the 105s. So,
What are your best numbers right now? I think, yeah. What are your best numbers?
best pull was I hit in Africa. I hit whatever was it 360? I think it was 380, maybe one of those two.
Okay,
Kilo.
huge difference, but yeah.
I can't remember which one I hit was my final. I think it might have been 380. It was a while ago.
So,
It was
so
off.
that's 840, I think.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
And then my overhead, best I hit is like a 385. And that wasn't a comp that I was training. I haven't really had a whole lot of.
Yeah. Are you excited for the log championships coming up?
You mean the deadlift?
Well, don't you have
A
log coming
lot.
up in September? Yeah. I'm sorry.
Who's
The
doing a
log's
lot?
going on a Clash. The one that
Oh, ours. I thought you were talking about, all right, ours.
yeah, yours. Sorry.
I'm excited. I think it's going to get I mean, it's Nicholas Camby's to lose. The way.
I'll be honest. I was watching his training. He's not as strong on the log. I mean, I could be dead wrong, but it looks like he struggles more on the log than the axle.
Yeah, he does, and that's his Olympic lifting background. He's very comfortable in that front rack position. He can do pretty much whatever he wants with it. The log is just a different beast altogether, though, just in general.
I remember when I started training on a log, my front rack it's so much easier for me to rack it like this as opposed to I don't have that wrist mobility.
Yeah, that same here. Try front rack and axle. I might as well just go lay down.
So, do you think that lifting has had a positive impact on your life, just recreational and strongman?
Absolutely. Um, with anything, sometimes it can have a negative impact, but on the whole, I mean, lifting has. I look at it. My life was going this way, and then I started lifting, and it was like, nope, we're going this way, and it was a good thing. I was on a path that I thought was right for me at the time, but looking back, I don't know how I ever lived that way.
So it's opened up a lot of doors for you, right? I mean, I believe you were, I'm not sure if you still are, a bodybuilding.com correspondent and a Barbend
Yep,
correspondent.
I've worked with them.
Yeah. I also work with them, so
Yeah,
shameless plug.
just yeah, just met the people. Yeah, it's opened up so many doors. I would never my idol. growing up. I grew up during the Attitude Era in wrestling. I was a big wrestling fan, so that was pretty cool.
Sorry, you just froze for a second.
Oh, you good?
Yeah,
Oh,
we're good.
I'd say, I grew up with The Rock as my idol. I was a big wrestling fan in the 90s, so getting to meet him because of lifting. I met, my significant other because of my lifting. You know, I'm in a position to get out of the Army and not worry about it because of lifting. So,
Good. Jeez. So, did you have an athletic background before this, or you just pick up a rock and find out you're good at it?
no, I've always been pretty athletic. I was a three-sport athlete in high school. I was an all-state linebacker, that kind of stuff.
Weren't you a little small for linebacker?
Yeah, a little bit, especially trying to go play college ball, they didn't want me.
I know nothing about real sports. I just follow,
But
lifting and fighting.
I was a little
But
small. I made up for it in spirit.
how much does spirit do when you got a 300-pound guy charging you?
It depends. It depends on how fast his feet are.
So, what do you have planned for, I guess, Strengthlete and Clash going forwards?
Clash, I'm looking to continue to have it as a platform for the underserved elite athletes in the sport. That's my goal with Clash. And then Strengthlete, I want to continue to help change people's lives. And I want to continue to be able to use that to keep giving back to the sport, to the athletes as best I can.
And do you see this going? I mean, I know it is international because you have the qualifiers in Oslo, but do you see this having a reach like Giants Live or like Strongman Champions League, or
Yeah,
does it matter, honestly?
it doesn't fully matter, but I can say that we're looking next year adding 3 more continents to the regionals. So
That'd be impressive. I mean, I think at this point we're almost getting to a good problem to have where there's so many different promotions. I
yeah.
mean, in America alone, there's Strongman Corporation, United States Strongman. Now there's Clash.
Well,
Um,
Gosh, I'm not working against these promotions in my eyes, and the way I'm approaching this is I'm providing. It's a different sport what I'm doing than them. That's how I'm treating it. I'm not in competition with them. I'm here to. I want to help them. If Nick Canby's a star now because of ESPN, now he can go win ASM and make that a bigger deal. It helps everybody.
and so, do you think that people would see it as as competition?
I think on the surface people can see it that way, but I stress that it's more of a synergistic relationship on my end, at least. I'm not, that's why I'm helping sponsor OSG. I'm helping sponsor ASM. That's why I'm working with these organizations, is because it's no ill will. I want everyone to rise together. I want the class. It's not about Clash. It's about the 105s and the 82 women. That's what I care about. So wherever they can get opportunity and however I can help, that's what we're going to do.
That's that makes sense for what you've been saying for the past few years. And yeah, I mean, it really, strongman is not the Olympics, right? You don't train for 4 years for one sport. People have to compete. And if I know the Rainer Classics this weekend, I think, yeah, I think it is this weekend. But I I believe it was either Adam Dirks or Kevin Fairs said that getting a pro card in strongman was like a death sentence because you couldn't compete anymore in America.
It used to be kind of, yeah, I mean, it kind of used to be. All you could do is the amateur heavyweight shows as a 105. But it's not that way anymore. We got the opportunities. My regionals have more talent than, some of the nationals or ASM have it, So, and that's okay. That's good. That just because the talent's coming out. They're coming out of retirement. They're coming out of places to compete again. So they catch that bug and they just, everyone wins.
Yeah, and I think Becca Lorch also said something on her story a couple weeks back about how I think someone had said that the talent pool was deeper at heavyweight, and she made it rather astute comment, which said, how many 380-pound guys do you see walking around as opposed to 200 to 230-pound guys who go to the gym and work out?
Yep.
So the talent pool is probably deepest at that level, right? Because the average American is 5'9" and 190 pounds.
I think so. I think the talent pool's deeper. I do think that the difference between top and mid level is a little more pronounced than the heavyweights. You have the top guys and then the second tier guys. I mean, it's just what it is, right? But I think overall talent, I mean, as you saw Clash, guys were stealing points from each other left and right. Surprising, it's competitive. It is competitive.
Yeah, and I think it's also getting to the point where, I don't know how closely you watch Lauren Chalet's YouTube channel. I watch it religiously, but he's said on more than one occasion that at least with the heavyweights, on any given day, there's about a group of 25 to 30 guys who could all take a title from each other. I think you are kind of getting to that point with the middleweights as well, right?
It's starting to. 2-3 years ago, there was a couple, 2 or 3 guys that would fight for it, right? Now, heading into Clash, I thought there was 5 or 6 people that could really. Turns out it was just Canby, but I thought there was 5 or 6 people, and looking at these shows coming up, like at the Waco class, I don't know who's going to get top 3. There's some talent there. We're definitely getting there every year.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Anthony Deal go against Canby at this point, because I feel like that was missing.
He hurt his shoulder. He had to pull out.
He did?
Yeah.
Come on. What was he get injured before every Clash? He tore his bicep in Russia, right?
Yeah, competing in Russia right before Clash. Don't even start on that.
Yeah, I remember seeing that on his Instagram. I was like, "Aren't you like 2 or 3 weeks out from Clash? What do you?"
Throwaway show, it didn't matter. But all right, no harm.
So would you say? Because I obviously compete at the amateur level, and I find that people are very friendly and receptive.
Yeah.
Do you find that even at the pro level that people are willing to lend chalk and give advice and support each other?
99% of the time, yes. And the 1% of the time that it doesn't happen, it's because their hormones are going crazy.
Yeah, I've seen your back and forth exchanges on your stories, but yeah, he's actually someone I'd want to get on here too, because I think he'd be an interesting person to speak with.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess everyone has different opinions, but so do you have a coach for yourself? I think you're working with Sean for your deadlift, right?
Yeah, Sean's. I look at Nicholas is actually doing some of my overhead for me, just more like advising, I'd say, at this point, helping me call some numbers out and give me some exercises to do. But I used the Dirks for about like 8 months in 2019, into 2020. But other than that, it's been mostly myself. That's how I've learned the art of programming, is by doing it myself.
Do you still feel that you're relatively new at this? I mean, I know you're obviously accomplished and you have your titles, but you've really only been here for 7 years, 6 years. I'm sorry, 7 or 8 years. Math is my strong suit.
Yeah, no, I mean, competing for 6, that's it. It's everything's so new, man. I learn something every time I'm training. There's something. I don't know it all. I never will.
I think it's interesting to rate different people's experiences. Like Clayton, I think he and Wesley Claiborne were doing teen nationals in 2008, 2009. Yeah. I think Trey Mitchell was up with them too. And then you have someone like Nick Betts, who's been competing since before you were born. Right?
Wrong.
I think 86 was his first competition.
Yep, I give him crap all the time.
Yeah, he's another person I would love to talk to. He just seems like a wealth of knowledge.
He is.
And do you think people sort of like him and Jerry, and I guess Andrew Clayton's a good example too, do you think they can do more crossover between powerlifting and strongman and even potentially bodybuilding? I don't know if you saw Hunter Henderson and Dr. Ben Polak won their pro cards in IFBB. Do you think a Strengthlete could help with that because there is such a diversity of training programs?
Yeah, we have very specific bodybuilding programs. We have Matt Mills does programming, who just did another crossover. He did pretty well as a bodybuilder. We have Amanda Kohatsu, who's doing a physique show. So we have a lot of powerlifters and strongmen that are actually currently doing bodybuilding. So it's just so deep, the knowledge level of our coaches. It's crazy. And I've actually done powerlifting. I pulled over, I think it was an 1840 total.
Wow, it's impressive.
Yeah, that was back in 2018, right after my first Worlds.
I think I followed you then. I think I remember that. I know you did Ollie lifting too, right?
Yeah, I did a Holly meet.
That I remember. It was you were kind of muscle snatching everything, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, very very technical.
Yep.
But I mean, it is strange to think that no one has done this before because the Dirks are incredible coaches, but could they do a bodybuilding prep?
Kim's a
Hmm,
pro.
never mind. Could Adam do a bodybuilding prep?
If he listens to Kim.
That's a good point. But I mean, I think of them and I think of someone like Evan Singleton and how well they've done with his programming, and you wouldn't anticipate that kind of crossover between coaches before Strengthlete, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's opened the floodgates now, but prior, I mean, it was all kind of separated still. You had to go to different sources here and there instead of the one-stop shop.
And so do people ever, or I guess, does it ever amaze you that you had such access to information when you got into the sport as opposed to, I've heard Shale and Terry Hollins talking about how they would go on old forums and just listen to the biggest guy in the gym tell them, eat 13 chickens for breakfast and you'll get big and strong.
Yeah, well, for me, I came right kind of at the boom of starting strongman in the internet, the coaches and stuff. I came right at the beginning of that. So, yeah, a lot of it was posting videos and commenting on other people's videos, and once you interact with them, they'll come back to yours. Back then, if you wanted somebody to look at your video, I didn't just I post a video, and then I would like low key comment on someone else's, like be friendly with them, so they would come back to mine and maybe check it out and be like, hey man, your feet are a little messed. So that's a big way how I learned is picking the brains of everybody I could, whether it was in person at competitions, whether it was online, whether it was at the gym. I had CrossFitters give me overhead advice that were weaker than me because their overhead looked better. So why not?
Do you think you would have progressed as quickly if you didn't have such an access to information?
No, nope, I don't think so. I think the access information is one of the things that is creating such the swift ascent of a lot of these athletes.
I mean, someone like Camby, who's phenomenal in 2021, I think he got his pro card in 2012 or so, 2013.
Yeah, a lot of years, a lot of knowledge in that brain of his.
Yeah, and whereas someone like you got into the sport 2 or 3 years after than him, and technically well, not technically, literally, you're more accomplished than he is,
I,
even though,
I was predisposed to the sport. I just took it. Something can be said for that. Sometimes people just are good at something, and that's where I found strongman. I was just good at it, so I was very blessed.
I mean, he had a strong background too. Wrestling's no joke, and
Yeah,
ollie lifting. But I just think it's an interesting disparity between, not even disparity, but the difference those 2 or 3 years could make. Where I don't think Instagram was around when he started. I think it's 2013. I think is when Instagram came up. So, I don't know. Now I know how to use it, but it took me a while. Uh, but yeah, it's strange watching the evolution of the sport. It's even like I remember in 2019 when Larry Wheels took the sport by storm and then didn't really do anything with it.
yeah,
But he brought attention to it.
he did. He brought some attention to it.
Yeah, but it's I think what you're doing is better than what he did personally. No, not just saying that because I'm talking to you.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I think it's one thing to be a flash in the pan. It's another thing to have a lasting legacy. And while no one can take away your world titles, if you look back in 20 years and say, oh, Anthony Fuhrman, yeah, he's the guy who revolutionized weight class strongman. I feel like that'd be a good
Yep. My goal.
legacy.
Hell, not even 20 years. In 5, 10 years, I want people to forget I ever won a title. You know, I want them to not. That's not what I'll be known for.
I mean, I know I think Magnus for Magnuson is similar in that regard. I know he's very instrumental in organizing World's Strongest Disabled Man,
Mhm.
right? And the people who've met him have said, you wouldn't know he's a four-time champion. He's just a guy who comes to referee and organize events. And I think he organized almost every single, Iceland Strongest Man,
Yep.
Western Iceland Strongest Man. He does all that. And so I guess you're 30 now, right? 31?
33.
Wow. My bad.
Well,
I'm just kidding. Uh, so if you could go back and talk with your 18-year-old self, what do you think you'd have to say to a young pre-Fuhrman tattoo Anthony?
I would say don't join the army. Bet on yourself. No, I'm joking. I enjoyed my younger years in the army. Um, I don't know. I think everything kind of panned out the way it had to pan out. I don't think there's anything I would really change. I think if I would change something, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. And I want to be here,
Do you wish you could have competed for a little bit longer?
Again, no. I think I came at the right time and I won at the right time, and it put me in a position to do this at the right time. That's what I think. I really believe that.
That's a fair point. I mean, watching your career from, I think, what was it, Titan Year, 2018?
Yeah.
2019, or filmed in 2018, released 2019.
Mhm.
It's at every stage, not to sound like a stalker, but I've sort of watched you grow, and your personal stock has grown, where you were a world champion, but so was Andrew Clayton. But
Mhm.
people don't remember Andrew Clayton as world champion. You were world champion, then you were on Titans games, then you were at the Arnold, then you were a world champion again, and they kept adding up with each other, and then you had you know COVID hit, and you decided to revolutionize strongman. It's
Yeah, it's a journey. Like that if I were to say anything to 18-year-old, it would just be let the journey happen, bro. That's all.
that's I it used to surprise me, but not as much anymore. That's pretty much what every single person has said that's been on here.
It's something. It's just yeah. It is what it is. It's a universal truth. Death, taxes, and just let it ride.
As, as someone who's 19, that's kind of encouraging to hear that it'll be okay no matter what happens.
It will, man. I'm telling you. No matter what happens, it will always be okay.
That's an inspiring message of hope to end on tonight. So
Well,
thank you for
thank you for having me, man. It's a pleasure. I hope somebody that popped up during this watched it. I don't do a whole lot of lives, so I don't think a lot of people from my end. They popped in and out, I saw, but I need to start doing live.
yeah, I saw a couple people. Well, if you and Alec could do seat at the table live, maybe that would help.
No, he swears too much. He got a potty mouth.
Happens.
Well, no, thank you for having me. I appreciate you. I appreciate you being a fan of the sport, supporter. And if there's anything I can do, man, just always hit me up.
Thank you so much, and have a good night. Good luck with your knee and getting out of the army if you can.
Brother.
Have a good night.
Thank you.